Hi.
Hi. Hold on a second. We're doing this up.
Well, you have to tell me what page we're on.
Okay, one second. Mm, Okay, we're on page uh Reish uh mm, not sure. Reish test, right? Uh
Rich, that
Reish, one second. Uh, no, the uh Mar Baraba. Sorry. Um no, we're way further than that. The we're page Reish Lamed.
Rich Loman. Okay.
Uh which is Zion in the on the screen, which is page Reish Lamed, the second paragraph.
Mm-hmm.
Ubasar Mar Rav Rabba. Then there's Rabbi Rabusoi, Basura Mar Rav Shashna or Sasno, whatever his name is. Sib Al Chumrate. It said on his seal, his full name was Misharsha Barta Khalifa. Okay. Beside Mar Busoy, after Mar Busoy, Pumbedisa Mar Ravuna Mori Bar Mar Rav Yosef have a Gaon Mishnas Alpha. He was a Gaon in the year 1000 million shtaros, which is 689, according to the secular count. And now we start a new parak in the on the screen, which is not a new parak on page Reish Lamed Aleph in the text. Vasrei Mar. This is the he calls it in the screen the second pair of the Gaonim. Vasrei Mar of Chia Mimeshan. Vasrei Mar Ravia. Ubasrei, and after him was Mar Rav Nachunoi Bar Mar Rav Nechemia. And this is Malach B'Shnas Alpha translate, so I'll say, I guess the last two were very short um, in their reign because we went from the year 1000, 1000, and, oh no, 1030, not so short. V'yadi Bar Marianuka, and he was known, Bar means outside. There's another Girsa in the printed version, which is Bimar, that I guess an alternative name. What does he say down here? V'yadi Bar Marianuka, Afagav the Shmo Rabbeinu Chernoi, Loikru b'shmo zeh. He recognizes his name. Kol Makina Sabakino Bar Marianuka. So he says Bar Marianuka is actually was the name, the son of Marianuka. Yavi Mar Rav Nechemia Hayimukne Rav Mar Ravia Marianuka. Seems I guess he was very young. And Bar Marianuka. So he was the son of Marianuka. Okay. Be that as it may, via Mechatim Bebe Nesia, he was married into the house of the base in the Nasi, I guess the Reish Galusa. Askiv Morris Rabbanon, and he was very tough on the rabbis. the Mesivte of his Mesivta. Varakuminon, and they fled from him. So he was tough on them in Pumpadisa, and they fled from him to Surah. He has bully punches here until he died, and then Hajar received town. They went back to their yeshiva. Okay. Um,
But we see that yeshiva politics are nothing new.
yeah. So the guy here in the text said, Onesh Ma'od is Yishalokim Shem Shamayim Niskavin. Shem Shamayim. Okay. This Arab's covered at Torah. That may be, but it doesn't say in the text itself. Okay. Um, because then the rabbi sent back. Ubasre Malach Rabbi Yehuda. Actually, uh, there's a, he says in this, he says here in the in the text on page Reish on the base at the bottom of the Burim, he says um, that he doesn't understand how he had such power to impose such authority, and then he goes into a whole issue of Girsos here. Um, uh, and evidently there was a whole bunch of friction. Whether this is whoever this person is, I mean, there's some friction between the house of Reish Galusa and the house of the Gaonim at this point. Okay, so I guess this if the Gerus is correct, then this Gaon married the Reish Galusa's house, so he used the authority of Reish Galusa to impose his will on the rabbis, and they fled. Like you said, in Chadash Tachat Hashemesh. Uvasrei Malach Mar, Bar Yehuda Basrei Malach Mar Bar Yosef Davi Adia Bar Kitnoi. He was known as the person from Kitnoi. In text, he says it's a place. The place they came. Kitno also is linen. Maybe he wore linen garments. Shnas Alpha Chamishin. We're up to the year 1050, which in our account is what? 738. Basem Achmar, Rav Shmuel Bar Mar, Rav Mori Shnas Elephant Nuntes. Semach Rav Netroy Kana Bar Min Ben Mar Rav Emuna. An interesting name. Rav Emuna. Usually Emuna nowadays is a girl's name. But I have a granddaughter named Emuna. Okay. The there's a different girsa. In the Paris version it says Achnoi. Okay, instead of Emuna. But anyway, Umin Baghdad Hava. Oh, I think it's the first time Baghdad's mentioned. Did we mention Baghdad before? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
He says in the printed text, it says, "Min Baghdad zemuzar shem shurgon maskirs makomatzam shak shloshim migunei pumpadisa." So three of them, he mentions where they're from. I guess there are more coming up. Yetzusim she'ela zhusku neshen krovim mishmachlim mitzit besura. They guess because they were says here because they were relatives to Surah. I guess Surah is closer to Baghdad. I don't know the geography of Iraq at all, but anyway, so this is the first time, as according to both my memories, that Baghdad is mentioned. Does he say anything down here? No. It says about the next part. Biyomei Solik Rav Acha Mishavcha there. So on his day, Rav Acha went up from Shavcha to Eretz Yisrael. The Mar of Notrei Shamei Haba. Okay, what does that mean? Because Mara Chernoi was his Talmud. Shamei is a loss of Talmud here. Shamei, I guess people who listen to him. Because Adabrene Nasi Ale, and when they took Rav Chernoi to be the Gaon, so Rav Acha felt that it was time for him to leave. And this Soik Lassi went up to Eretz Yisrael. Now this Rav Acha, why do we care? Because Rav Acha was a very choshev fellow, as we shall see momentarily. But I skipped it for a couple words before. I said, I mean, Bagdad Hava mean to Sira Bara. He was the same person who's from Tusira Borough, means from the outer bridge. In New York, we have the outer bridge crossing. Do you know there's a bridge between Staten Island, New Jersey? One of them is called the Outer Bridge Crossing. The reason why it's called the Outer Bridge Crossing is because it's named after George Outerbridge. So they couldn't call it the Outer Bridge Bridge. They call it the Outer Bridge Crossing. Okay, but in any event, he was one of the builders of the Panama Canal. So Mitusia Bar Bagdad al Nahara Yosheves. Baghdad sits on a river. There are two um, bridges. L'chotzosis north to cross into the river. Hagesh Abnimi, the inner bridge. The Hagesh Tochair is the bridge in the sea. Hagesh Achitzoni, and the outer bridge. Hagesh Michutz layer. But the sign these Rabu Chlusei Baghdad. Meantime, Baghdad grew in population. Siash and Michutz layer people. Some of Hagesh Achitzoni. It was outside the city, next to the outer bridge. Mishabama, so Shkuna Chadash. Somebody came from that new neighborhood who they called me to Sira Barak. I mean, Hagesh Achitzoni. So this is from Staten Island. Rav Mishavcha Meir Shavcha Rav Mishavu Rav Acha Baal Shitos. So he's one of the most famous people in the period of the Gaonim because he wrote the Shiltos to Rav Achai Gaon. But he wasn't a Gaon. Even though he called him a Gaon, he's not. Technically, he wasn't a Gaon. Kianasi Adifas Rav No Troy. Because the Nasi gave preference to Rav No Troy. Shetamidos Rav Acha. We know the Gaon come on, and he appointed him as the Gaon. So therefore, Ravacha Mishavcha was not able to, the way he writes here, before he was very makbid on the cover of the fellow who abused the Chachamim. But he was not so makbid on the cover of Ravacha. He says, Ravacha Mishavcha, these bozos. Wasn't able to tolerate this. Volo Eretz Yisrael went out to Eretz Yisrael. Okay? In any event, this is, one, as I said, his most famous, one of the famous things. Ravacha, he elaborates a little bit more in the Biurim on Bar Reish Lamed Gimel that Ravav Mishavcha Mechaber Shloso Tamid Muvokshar Mar Rishua Bar Mar Reb Mar Klum Chashushi Malais Makom Gon. Everybody thought he would take the place of the Gon. She's man het Tamid Shabachanan Bred Detroit Makom Rabba as Bava Oretz Yisrael. Ravid, which is where the source evidently of that what he wrote on the screen. Say Rakabah, close to Kia Rabba, Besinas Rosha Gola Klapov. Our enemy must be a Siba Assassino. So the Rosh Gola did not like Ravacha, and therefore he passed over him and gave the role to his Talmud. Okay. Basrei, back to the text, he says, Basrei Mar Bar Rav Avram Kahana. Basrei Malach Mar Rav Dudoy. Bar Mar Ram Nachman Shnas Elef Ayin Base. 1072, which we're making pretty progress here. What day is that? 760. But who Achoy the Mar Rav Dagon, the brother Rav Gagam, Azat Semach, Rav Chananya Bar Rav Mishashia. Nas Elf Ayin Hey. Basrei Malach Rav Malka Bar Mar Rav Acha B'Shnas Pei Beis. Who Achtei Rav Nochnoi Mechavoi Nasi. He brought down the brought down the Nasi. Beplukta in a machlokas al Zakai Bar Mar Achunoi Tam Nasi Kam Yochi Kama Shanin, who was a Nasi previously for several years. It's not sure clear the machlokas says evidently Vizkanosh Tartim Sibasa. The two yeshivas got together. Al Zakai Nasi with Zakai, who was the previous Reish Galusa. Vavruya Natroy, and they staged a coup against Nachunoi. After a Malka Gan Eden, but Malka, whoever that was, died. And Natroy Nasi Azlamar and Natroy, who was the Reish Galusa, who was deposed, went to Eretz Yisrael. So he has here, let's see if he has. No, Marav, he says in the Mamas to Spain. Spain. Okay, there's a long note here in the text, but here it says at the end, on the screen, let's write, Hushkazim Nesvar is to tell me, Piv Shlomi Aksa Gavur B'Sefer Itim. So this fellow, Rabbi Nachunoi Nasi, who was deposed by Reish Galusa, he went to Spain and wrote verbatim the Talmud Bavli. Okay, so on page Reish Lamadali has a long discussion here. He says, no, it's not clear. Machlekes is, somebody will say you can learn the reason out of the, I'm paraphrasing what he says here, out of the Iggeres that Rav Nuchanoi was a Talmud Chacham, but obviously it's the case since he wrote down the Talmud from memory, and the Gaonim did not want a Rosh Gola who was a Talmud Chacham. They wanted separation of church and state. However, there is no true source here. On the contrary, it makes more sense that they would want a Rosh Gola who's a learned person, who's more close to the Yosatera. But it seems from a fragment found in Geniza that Zakai was a descendant of Bustanai and his Persian princess wife, who was forbidden to him according to many Chachamim. Therefore, Rav Nuchanoi was opposed to Rabbi Zakai because I guess he wasn't halachically Jewish, technically. It says in Rosh Hashanah, he's not sure this is the case. It should be term should use it because Rav Nuchanoi was trying to take Rabbi Zakai down from Reish Galusa. And Rabbi Nuchanoi was not yet the Reish Galusa. Okay, I'm not sure what that matters to us. In the meantime, they removed Nachunoi. But question he says here, it's not clear if the two yeshivas were opposed to Nachunoi. Why does it say the Rav Malka removed him? I didn't see that he said Rav Malka. So I just say he says that Rav Malka died. Okay. And so, in any event, Rav Malka went to Gan Eden, and actually went to the west. And he brings down here from Solomon Schechter. Shamadi Shem Professor Schneer Schechter, his name was Schneer. Hashar Harif Peace. A sharp the hypothesis. He said that this story is a fulfillment of the promise of Chazal and Soitim and Tes. Two Chachamim live in the same city, and they don't converse with each other in halacha. One dies and one goes into Golus. So that's what happened here. It says they weren't getting along. One died, Ramalka, and one went to Golus, Rabbi Nachunoi. They weren't getting along with the third guy, though. No, they weren't getting along with each other. Right. So, no, they weren't getting along with Zakai. They were getting along with each other. They weren't getting along with Rav Zakai. Rav Malka and Rav Nuchanoi seemed to stage the coup. They weren't getting along with Rav Zakai. Anyway, that's Salman Schechter's idea. Then Louis Ginsburg. Boy, he's really quoting the Apikorsum today. Louis Ginsburg from the both these from, of course, the JTS was Mecharish Habana Chadash Legamri. The Keta Shema Od Matima Im Nusach HaTzarviti Shalanu. He says it works out very well with our French version. Feedvar according to what he says, ambush achte lo read. Doesn't mean to remove. El hefek l'manos means to appoint a person l'tafkid. B'nigud l'adamach is supposed to somebody else. Like when you're married to shliach tzibur, lifnei ateva, he goes down. So achte means when it says that achte, Ramalka. So when it says Ramalka achte l'nachunoi, so bar chavivoi, it means that he appointed him. So Malka appointed Rav Nachunoi as opposed to Zakai. And then, but the two Mesiftas, they got together in the presence of Rav Zakai, and they removed Rav Malka. According to Ginsburg, the later copyists understood the story inappropriately. Therefore, they changed the Iggeres. Instead of Avroi, they removed him. They added the name Nachunoi. In order that we should have as what appears in us, they removed Nachunoi. However, in our Nuskha, the word Nachunoi doesn't actually appear. According to this, Rabbi Nachanoi went to the west when his primary supporter died. I don't see what it seems to be very simple. And then yet another guy from the seminary here. He says, I saw in the orders of Professor Alexander Marx. Alexander Marx was the librarian in the seminary. On his copy of the book Onika, many complaints against Louis Ginsburg's assertion. He says it's not comparable to the story of Rabbi Yitzchak, which we have later on, because they have the word Plukta here. Shirgon would have should have pressed upon us how strange it was that a Gaon and his yeshiva are in conflict with each other. And also, why does it not say in the Iggeres that the Mesivta chose a different Gaon after they moved Rab Malka, as we'll see later on by Rab Sadia? After they decided to Reish Galusa, they pushed him off from his Gaonus. Anyway, and when it says you go to the west here, it says to Spain and North Africa. Okay. So there's a whole story here. Very unclear what exactly went on. And this how much longer does he have this chapter? Oh yeah, this is breaking a couple of pages. Okay, but let's go a little bit further. Uvasa Rav Malka, after Malka passed away, and after that went to Spain, Mach Mar Baravaba Horenu, his ancestor, Bar Marav Dudoy is Kenenu. But I guess it's his father, actually. Bar Marav Horenu would be his father. After the son of Marav Dudoy, our grandfather. Does he say it down here? No, it doesn't say here. Vishnas El pay down. But say Malach Rav Shinoi. V'loy Rich for short amount of time. Say Malach Rav Takkanah Gaon Bar Marv Gavrango Vishnas Elef V'tzadi Gimel V'Avrei Nosi removed him. Kama say Mar Ravuna Levi Bar Rav Yitzchak V'shnas Elef V'tzadi Zayin Mav Takilu Lemibik Subas Isha V'Val Choy Miyasim V'Fil Metaltellin. That is a very important, famous Takkanah. That the Takkanah is going until then. Till the Takkanah is going to only collect the ksuba from real estate, right? Not from movable property. But the Takkanah Saganim was to collect the ksubas isha and a baal chayv, same thing, a creditor, even from Yisraelim, which used to never be able to collect from Yisraelim. They had to wait till they grew up, and even from Metaltellin, even from movable objects. So it's like a double Takkanah. The in the on page Reish Galusa above in the note, he says that Havalevi tried to prove that even though it's not written in the Talmud, that was only the Talmud, because then real estate was the primary guarantor of obligations. But the Gaonim, they permitted this because of the conditions for commercial activity, which were created in the Muslim empire, in the massive Muslim empire, that made it worthwhile to transfer professions from agriculture to commerce and craft. So therefore, Metaltellin became the primary basis of all obligations. Okay, so it says here, Chachameni Zaltiknu the Govin Ksubas Isha Ba'achol Metaltellin Diasme, Kakram Metaltellin Diasme El Rakim Karkoi, and even for Karkos you have to take. I think that only when they for Karkos maybe you can't collect even when they're still young. And we're going tiknu the goyim they make the goyim afilu Metaltellin Diasme. Bishurov was a pirza gedola. They saw a great pirza. Evidently, people no longer had real estate, so it wasn't working the same way. And Kedusha Rashba Perba coming down base, the Master Shem Betam, so Chelgim Piske Babasim Kubzan Kosam, Nimesh Paski Takursa Banon Saburoi, that he says it's Rabban of Saburoi. It's not the Takkanah of the Rabban Saburoi, El Takkanah Gaonim, Kmosh Fushkan, but Takkanah Gaonim, that they should be able to collect from even from Yisraelim and even from Metaltellin. Okay, so there there's a major change in which is like huge. Again, because time of Chazal, he didn't collect from Yisraelim. I remember that Megas Karkosta, he did collect. It wasn't collecting properly, but he certainly did not collect from Metaltellin. And even Baal Chov, he didn't collect from Metaltellin. Uh, uh, um, no, it says, I think the main, it's got to be talking about simply from Yisraelim. I'm reneging what I said before. Is connected. It's not talking about. It's talking about silly. It's saying you connect from South and not just from Carcos. And the reason is because people were not into real estate anymore like they used to be. So time of Chazal, you could say, okay, from you say we can only collect about Carcos, but now everybody relied much more on movable objects and therefore, including money, and therefore now they said you could collect from Metaltellin as well. Okay, I guess we can stop here for today.
Okay.
Okay, so let's go
Go,
here.
which one?
Design,
Well,
which is in the text, it
Amadasha
is
bar of this.
Ubatsre B'Shnas Tarik Test on page Reish Vav.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
And Sunday is Shivasa Batanas, but
Yeah.
will
So
that gonna be okay?
I don't know, you have to tell me what time Mincha is by you. I don't know what time is good by you, but we'll play by you.
That's a good point. I think
All right,
one
let me
thirty
know.
is 8:30 here, but we should be like more in Maariv time.
Right, which is also a
Maybe
problem.
a little later than 1:30.
Okay, we'll be in touch.
Yeah. All right.
Okay,
Thanks a lot.
take care. Bye.
Bye.